Hello and welcome to Star Wars Theories. In this episode, we ask what everyone wants to know the answer to. Just who exactly is Rey? This is a question that has kept the internet turning since December 2015, the scavenger girl on the backwater planet of Jakku, a planet which much of the galaxy considered to be of little significance except for it being the location of the final battle between the New Republic and the Empire 1 year after the Battle of Endor, and as a result, one of the largest junkyards of old Imperial technology in the galaxy. Firstly, Rey is probably not the character's real name. In fact, keen-eyed fans have noticed that in The Force Awakens, Rey puts on a Rebels pilot helmet which appears to have the name Rey on it in Arabesh, the written language of Basic spoken in Star Wars. Captain Dosmit Rey was a female pilot for the Rebel Alliance. She was a starfighter pilot who flew an X-Wing with the Tiafan Yellow Aces, the Rebel fighter pilot doll Rey had in her home of the abandoned Atat Walker on Jakku is also said to have been called Rey. Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, has been quoted on a number of occasions to have said that she thought all the answers were in The Force Awakens and the question as who her parents were has already been answered. But she was surprised that people hadn't worked it out. Now it might be that she simply doesn't know, especially as Lucas guard their secrets very highly in terms of plot scripts, so it's not actually unlikely that Daisy doesn't know Rey's identity for sure. So let's get into the theories. Theory 1. Rey is the offspring of Chancellor Sheev Palpatine, also known as Darth Sidious. This theory has been roaming around the internet for quite some time now. The theory is that Rey is actually the granddaughter of Palpatine. So let's have a think about this. What are the pros? Well, the theory, it appears, is predominantly linked to Rey's fighting style with a lightsaber which is very similar to that of Darth Sidious. The fighting style doesn't use a single form of the 7 different forms of lightsaber styles, but rather a mixture of all styles. However, a lot rests on the fact that both characters use stabbing motions when confronting their attackers. Another pro is that the theory is expanded to look at all the times that she has come close to the dark side. When she kills stormtroopers with a blaster while in the forest at the beginning of the film. She also shows hints of evil as she seems to enjoy saying to Kylo Ren what he is fearful of, i.e. that he will never be as strong as Darth Vader. Also, at one point in the battle on Starkiller Base, when she has bested Kylo Ren, she paces around him much like Darth Maul paced when stuck between the Force shields during the fight with Qui-Gon Jinn. Okay, this wasn't Palpatine, but Maul was his apprentice. Another part of this theory relates to Daisy Ridley, who plays the character. Her accent in the films is British, and she keeps this accent in the film, unlike other actors such as John Boyega, who has been asked to change his voice to sound more American. Maybe this is something to do with him being the potential of Lando's son, but that's for another episode. Anyway, this again is another supposed link to Darth Sidious, played by Ian McDiarmid, who is also a British actor and keeps the accent in the films. Finally, the last bit of evidence for this is the official poster for the movie, which shows Rey not on the light side of the picture, but actually on the dark side of the poster, the same as Kylo Ren. So what evidence is there to go against this? First off, let's be honest, the evidence really is quite flaky. There is no record in the actual Star Wars canon that the Emperor had any children. I know what some fans are going to say, but although it was recorded in legends that Sheev Palpatine was the father to Triclops, who was a human mutant slave that had 3 eyes, one being at the back of his head. But that is not official canon. Another issue is one of age. Palpatine clearly cannot be Rey's father. The Emperor died at the Battle of Endor. Rey isn't born until 11 years after the battle took place, which would mean that Rey was either the result of artificial insemination or she could potentially be the granddaughter of Palpatine. Theory 2. Rey is the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This theory for me is more linked to people thinking that this would be a good basis for which to launch an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone film, even though at present this hasn't been agreed. So let's have a look at the pros. Both characters have English accents. This isn't surprising really. Ewan McGregor, who plays the younger Kenobi, was matching his accent to that of Alec Guinness, who played him in the original trilogy. And Daisy Ridley is also an English actress. Rey uses a Jedi mind trick with no training. This was also a power that Obi-Wan had. Other Jedi seem to have trouble with this. Neither Luke nor Qui-Gon Jinn could do mind tricks that well. For example, when Luke confronted Jabba, his mind tricks didn't work, and neither did Qui-Gon Jinn's mind tricks on Watto. Rey and Obi-Wan Kenobi wear similar clothes, and Rey's outfit could be viewed as being a female version of Kenobi's. Rey was more or less completely on her own when she was living on Jakku. This is very much like the lifestyle of Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was also on Tatooine. In A New Hope, Obi-Wan takes Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber from a chest and hands it to Luke. In much the same way, during The Force Awakens, Rey took Luke's lightsaber from a chest, similar to the one used by Obi-Wan Kenobi. Again, mirroring A New Hope, later in the movie, she hands the lightsaber to Luke. This gives a lot of similarity between the two characters' journeys. At the end of Rey's Force vision after touching the lightsaber, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi can clearly be heard saying Rey in Alec Guinness's voice, and at the end of the vision, Ewan McGregor's voice whispers, Rey, these are your first steps. In A New Hope, Ben rescues R2-D2, and in The Force Awakens, Rey rescues BB-8, again linking to the similarity between the movies and the repeating themes from generation to generation. When Darth Maul kills Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan shouts, "No!" in a very similar way to the way in which Rey shouts no at the death of Han Solo. One thing for the Star Wars universe is the persistent themes. There are a number of similarities between the fighting scenes between Anakin and Obi-Wan and that of Rey and Kylo. They seem to mirror each other in many aspects. Watch the movies again, you'll see what I mean. Also, as a final call out for this theory, Obi-Wan Kenobi has been in love before, in Star Wars The Clone Wars. From that relationship, he may have had a child that we don't know anything about. So what are the negatives? A big counter-argument is that falling in love and having children is not the Jedi way. This is really explained quite a lot in the prequels. But when Obi-Wan is on Tatooine, the Jedi Order is destroyed, and hence all of his limitations on his having a relationship falls away. We don't know what Obi-Wan did while he was in exile on Tatooine, which is plenty of time for him to have had a number of amorous relationships which may have produced children. But at no time was this hinted at when he left his home to travel to Alderaan with Luke. Another big negative is that he was a Jedi Master. While the Order may have fallen, it was against his Jedi traits to form attachments, such as marriage, and other specific individual bonds such as family and love. While Kenobi may have been lonely in exile, he was still a dedicated Jedi and more likely would not have deviated from the Jedi Code. Theory 3. Rey is Han and Leia's daughter. This is one of the stronger theories and a big fan favourite, so let's have a look at the evidence. Rey is clearly powerful with the Force for having little or no training. As the daughter of Leia, she would clearly inherit the power from her grandfather, Darth Vader. Both Han and Leia seem to have an affinity with Rey almost immediately. Clearly Han knew who she was, as Maz Kanata asked Han, and the scene quickly jumped from the rest of the conversation. Han clearly feels close to Rey, so much so that after supposedly knowing her for a very limited time, he offers her a job on the Falcon. Rey clearly knows who Han is. She says, "You're Han Solo?" and knows that he was a smuggler. Rey knows of the Falcon, and that it had held the record for the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, although she does actually reference that as 14 parsecs. This is a manoeuvre that put the Falcon perilously close to a cluster of black holes in the Kessel area. It can be theorised that a very young Rey may have remembered stories told by her parents, Han Solo and Leia, about the Falcon, and how fondly Han thought of the beloved ship. It is natural that he would talk to his daughter about the ship and boast about the ship's abilities. Kylo Ren is immediately interested in hearing about the seemingly insignificant girl that helped Finn and BB-8 escape, just like a brother or cousin may take an interest if he thought that that was where they may have been. Kylo Ren makes a comment to Rey and Han Solo, "He's like the father you never had." Was this more a literal reference, saying that she'd been taken away at a young age? When Han dies, Rey is stricken with grief more than anyone. This includes Leia and Chewie. Leia was Han's wife, and Chewie was Han's lifelong companion, protector and friend, who had known him longer than anyone. Yet despite this, Leia, Han's wife, comforts Rey. This is very similar to the way a protective mother would try and ease the pain for her daughter who had seen the death of her father. At the death of Han, Chewie's life debt should no longer be valid, but yet he stays with Rey and takes her to Arc 2, continuing to be the co-pilot of the Falcon. Did the life debt to Rey transfer because Chewie knows that she is Han's daughter, and after all the years they spent together, Chewbacca decides to honour Han by protecting her? When Kylo finds out about Rey for the first time, he has hold of a First Order officer with his arm outstretched. The very next scene flips to Rey fixing the Falcon, standing in a very similar position, reinforcing the image that Kylo and Rey are either brother or sister, or there is a strong connection between them. There is some compelling evidence to suggest that Rey is not Han and Leia's daughter. Neither Han or Leia seem to recognise Rey when they meet her. Rey doesn't recognise Han or Leia either. You would have thought that she would have seen who they were. Rey doesn't recognise the Millennium Falcon. Surely she would have knew that that was the ship that was owned by her father. Going back to Han, his priority wasn't to rescue Rey when she was kidnapped by Kylo Ren. It was actually Finn who pushed to rescue Rey from Starkiller Base, not Han. J.J. Abrams is also quoted as saying that Rey's parents do not appear in The Force Awakens. This is an interesting statement as the term is in plural. This could mean that one of her parents could be Han, Luke or Leia, or again it could be a misdirection in order to ensure that we doubt that she is actually a Solo. Theory 4. Rey is a nobody. Perhaps one of the most bravest moves that could be made in Star Wars is that Rey is actually the daughter of someone completely not special or connected in any way to the rest of the films and characters. In short, she may be simply someone new. Firstly, the simple question, why does she have to be related to any of the other characters? It feels more like it would be more of an attempt to appease lifelong 40-something-year-old fans, myself included, by evolving the characters that they love to be in a similar place as many of the fans are now, i.e. that they have grown up to become parents. It gives you something in common with the characters as they started much younger and have grown up with you. But all of this has already been done with Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo. Do they really need to do it twice? Nobody recognised Rey, with the exception of the rather strange look that Luke gives her at the end of The Force Awakens and a couple of looks from Han and Leia. Nobody else seems to know who she is. No one's saying, "Hey, aren't you whoever's child?" To quote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, yes, I know, this isn't Star Wars, but the quote is relevant. Space is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemist, but that's just peanuts to space. In the Star Wars galaxy, there are lots of populated planets with varieties of different races. Surely in all the galaxy the likelihood that the scavenger Rey is related to any of the original main cast must be very, very remote. What about things that disprove this? The Star Wars saga, not the new Star Wars stories, has always been about the Skywalker family, from Anakin in The Phantom Menace all the way to Luke in Return of the Jedi. Kylo Ren has already been established as the dark side evil character. There isn't the balance in the Skywalker family. Therefore, making Rey a Skywalker or a Solo would certainly make sense. Rey is a heroine of the new Star Wars trilogy. This makes it very likely that she has links and direct lineage to the Skywalkers. When she meets BB-8 for the first time and BB-8 says his origins is classified, she says, "Classified? Really? Me too. Big secret." Finally, she's a tremendously strong Force user. Even with no training, she is able to better the injured Kylo Ren in a lightsaber battle, using mind control over the James Bond Daniel Craig Stormtrooper character, and is able to resist and push back against Kylo Ren's mind-reading ability. Theory 5. Rey is Darth Vader. Another theory out there is that Rey is Darth Vader. Not the actual character of Vader and Anakin, but the reincarnation of the spirit of Vader. This theory suggests that the role of the one who will bring balance to the Force is a constant reoccurring character in the Star Wars universe. It could be argued that as either Anakin or Vader, balance was not brought to the Force. The one failed to achieve what was expected of him, so was reincarnated to complete his mission. There are a number of things that go against this theory. Anakin was male, as was Vader. Rey's clearly not, and while the spirit of Anakin may be able to inhabit the body of any sex, it doesn't seem likely. We also know from the end of The Return of the Jedi that Vader was a Force ghost, and would go on like this forever. Extending life was a bit of a theme from Revenge of the Sith, with Palpatine stating that Darth Plagueis the Wise sought to save those who he loved from death, and Yoda saying that he had come across the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn and had training for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Was this one of the ways in which a true Jedi Master, or a Master of the Force, could extend their life by being reincarnated? All of the evidence in this theory is really purely circumstantial and not really very compelling. As such, this is one of my least favourite theories. Theory 6. Rey is a convergence of the Force. This is an alternate version of the Rey is Vader scenario. The history of this is linked to the supposed birth of Anakin Skywalker, which suggests that he had no father and was a convergence of the Force. Some theories suggest that Darth Plagueis the Wise, in his attempt to have mastery over life and death, brought forth the virginal pregnancy of Shmi Skywalker through experimentation, which resulted in the birth of Anakin Skywalker. However, an opposing theme suggests that Darth Plagueis' attempting to gain mastery over the Force, life and death had unforeseen consequences, and as a result the Force converged to create Anakin Skywalker. Yet another theory suggests that the Force periodically recreates the one who will bring balance to the Force at key points in history. If this is the case, Rey may well be the one. But what supports this? Well, Rey is unusually strong with the Force. She's able to resist Kylo Ren's mind probes and reverse it. Her ability to fly the Falcon is far too advanced for a first flight, even if she has spent many hours flying. She can use Force suggestion with very little effort. She's also able to attract Anakin and Luke's lightsaber over Kylo Ren, as well as defeat Kylo Ren, who has much more experience in lightsaber battles. If she had been discovered as a convergence of the Force, anyone who was familiar with Darth Vader's history may well hide Rey from Luke to ensure that he did not find her and train her, in fear of the consequences of Rey ultimately falling to the dark side. We know from the canon of episodes 1 to 3 that the One is a Jedi legend for bringing balance to the Force, and as such this allows for an immaculate conception and the birth of Rey. One of the biggest reports that suggests that this theory may be correct is from the Radio Times, which reported that a few privileged Disney stakeholders and members of the US press have finally had their chance to see Luke Skywalker speak on screen for the first time since 1983. They were treated to a short teaser trailer for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. In a shocking revelation, Luke's first 3 words are apparently, "Who are you?" You may remember one of the trailers from The Force Awakens had Maz Kanata asking Rey the same question, to which she replied, "I'm nobody." It's my theory that if this is correct, Luke recognises that there is something significant in Rey due to her immersion in the Force. Maybe he has been receiving Force visions of her. As a Jedi Master, you would expect that he would have foreseen a great deal about Rey. As a final point to this theory, Lawsan Tekka, a member of the Church of the Force, who after the Battle of Endor helped Luke recover Jedi lore and holocrons that the Empire tried to erase, just happened to be living on Jakku, near where Rey was. Was he there worshipping Rey as a convergence of the Force? On the flip side of this argument, to be honest, the evidence behind the theory is surrounded by lesser-known Legends material which is no longer canon. It's entirely speculative, and any evidence linking to it is pretty much circumstantial. And also, if Lawsan Tekka is there worshipping Rey as the embodiment of the Force, why didn't he try and keep her safe and not let her be exploited in Jakku for all of those years? Theory 7. Rey is Luke's daughter. The fan favourite, and certainly where the film tries to push you, is believing that Luke is Rey's father. But why would we think that? First, both Luke and Rey grew up on desert planets. Both Luke and Rey had a hard life to survive. Okay, Luke grew up with his step-aunt and uncle, whereas Rey appears to have mainly survived on her own. In Rey's Force vision, she does appear to have been left in the custody of Unkar Plutt, played by Simon Pegg. Rey receives a vision when she touches Luke's lightsaber, the same lightsaber that had previously been owned by Anakin Skywalker. This was lost on Bespin when Luke and Vader fought for the first time. A number of characters are featured in the vision, but Kylo and Luke are quite prominent. Is this link showing that they are actually blood relatives? Rey seems to quickly adopt Force abilities much like Luke did, going from farm boy to Jedi in only a few years, even with intensive training from a Jedi Master. But should that be expected from the child and grandchild of Anakin Skywalker, who had the highest concentration of midichlorians had to mention them, than any other Jedi. Both Han and Leia clearly had an affinity with Rey almost immediately. It seems apparent that Han knew who Rey was. Maz Kanata asked Han, and the scene quickly jumped from the rest of the conversation. Another link is that Luke was able to do mind control tricks. It didn't work for him with Jabba, but it certainly worked with him with his servant, Bib Fortuna. Rey also had this power. One of the most overlooked pieces of evidence to support this comes from the Force Awakens trailer, where Luke says, "The Force is strong in my family. My father had it. I have it. My sister has it. You have that power too." Now it could be that Luke is talking to Kylo Ren, or more appropriately, Ben Solo, when he was Luke's apprentice, but it's heavily hinted that Luke may be talking to Rey, either as her uncle or father. Another piece of evidence to support this theory, again, is that Lor San Tekka, a member of the Church of the Force, who after the Battle of Endor helped Luke recover secret Jedi lore that the Empire had tried to erase, just happened to live on Jakku, near Rey. Oh yes, and with a map to Luke Skywalker, otherwise known as Dad. Is that a coincidence? Or maybe it was a plant by Luke to say to Lor San Tekka to keep an eye on her, and when the time is right, find her and send her to me. When Kylo Ren finds out about Rey for the first time, he has hold of a First Order officer with his arm outstretched. The very next scene flips to Rey fixing the Falcon, standing in a very similar position, reinforcing the image that Rey and Kylo are actually cousins. There are things that disprove this argument as well. Let's face it, this is probably the most predictable reveal ever and a bit of a washout. However, Star Wars has always been about the Skywalkers. J.J. Abrams is quoted as saying that Rey's parents do not appear in The Force Awakens. This is an interesting statement, as he refers to Rey's parents, which means that Luke could be the father of Rey as her parent. It could be a deliberate ploy by J.J. Abrams to misdirect in order to ensure that we would doubt Rey's heritage. One of the biggest reports that suggests that this theory is incorrect now comes from the Radio Times, which reported that a privileged few Disney stakeholders and members of the US press have finally had their chance to see what Luke Skywalker says on screen for the first time since 1983. They were treated to a short teaser trailer for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. As for what he says, it's apparently 3 simple words. Who are you? For those of you who can remember, one of the trailers from The Force Awakens had Maz Kanata asking Rey the same question, and she replies, "I'm nobody." Luke asking this question doesn't mean that he is the father, or that he doesn't know the heritage. But if he is the father, then maybe he's not as awesome a Jedi as we like to think. You would expect as a Jedi Master he would be able to recognise his own daughter, or even niece, by searching his feelings the way that he recognised Vader as his own father. But again, maybe another interpretation is that while she may be the daughter of Skywalker, she may have been abducted as a child and he just senses her power with the Force. Or she could be someone new that Luke is being straight with and is asking, "Who are you?" So, that's the end of my episode for Star Wars Theories. Over time, I've swayed between a number of these theories. For me, right now, the explanation of Rey being a convergence of the Force is certainly becoming the most compelling, given the circumstances, and as a result of the private screening of Luke's first words, I find it hard to believe that he would not instantly know his own daughter or niece, which are the 2 strongest theories out of all of the others. However, the issue of Rey opens more questions rather than just who is she and who are her parents. What is more important is why was she left on Jakku, supposedly by her parents, but maybe not? Why was she left in such horrible conditions? Is Rey even her real name? Was it just pure coincidence that a member of the Church of the Force who helped Luke Skywalker re-establish the Jedi Order was on the same planet? Is Rey the last Jedi? And ultimately, will Rey be the new evil in the galaxy? Questions for another time, I think. I'd love to hear about your theories about Star Wars. Maybe you agree with these theories, or maybe you have your own. Please let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, click the bell button to be notified when the next videos are released. It will also help the channel get noticed and get more subscribers. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/HERJUK, on Twitch at twitch.tv/HERJUK, and my blog herjukblog.wordpress.com. You can also check out some of my other videos on this channel and listen to me on the Cranky Gamers UK podcast. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. And may the Force be with you.